I'm so glad you're here. I'm Tiffany Poirier, the creator of this course in personal interest projects, and this is step 3, Envision. Envision your personal interest project. See in your mind's eye all of the amazing possibilities for what you could create and what you can share with others. I'm so excited because this step is a little bit like magic because what you're doing is conjuring up in your mind something that doesn't yet exist. Now think about that. You are taking something that isn't present in the world, you're seeing it in your mind as the first step to bringing it into reality. That's why I think that this stage is so special. I think that's why this stage is a little bit magical. So join me in being magicians on this next part of our journey. All right, now, and I'm gonna ask something of you. To do something for yourself that's gonna make this step all the more meaningful and magical. Dream big. Dream big. Dream wider and more beautifully than you have before about what you think is possible for yourself. You know, whatever you might be facing, whether, you know, you haven't had things handed to you on a silver platter throughout your life, or maybe you've faced some sort of challenges, whatever they may be, whatever's been holding you back, don't let that hold you back now as you are thinking about the future and where you want to go with your project. I mean, maybe you have a dream of being an architect. So dream big. Think about, could you create a portfolio of your designs? You know, maybe you always like toys. Well, don't just think about, you know, how can I research toys? Think about, how can I design a new toy and maybe market it and sell it? You know, if you like reading, you don't have to just stop at the stage of, you know, reading a couple books for your project. You could write your own book and share it with the world. That's what I mean by dreaming big. I want to share with you a quote that I absolutely love by Henry David Thoreau. He says, "If you have built your castles in the air, your work need not be lost. There is where they should be. Now put foundations under them." Put your castles in the air. Put your dreams in the air. Build these wonderful visions of what your future can hold in this project and in life. And then take care of the logistics of that after the fact. You know, if your dreams are containers for what your future can hold, you know, we need bigger containers. We need to start thinking on those larger scales, thinking about castles in the air. And I promise you, right away in step 4, we're going to start putting those foundations down with plans. So if you'll go on this journey with me and dream big for yourself, I promise I will show you strategies you can use to make those dreams come true. Now, how do I know this? How do I know that this is possible? Well, I want to share with you my own story. You know, I could share a million other stories about rich and famous people and all the great things they've accomplished, but I want to share with you a regular person's story. I want to tell you about when I was a little girl, about age 7, I loved books. And I'll show you, maybe you've seen some of these old readers. This was a book very much like the one I used to read when I was a kid. And, you know, I loved stories and the wondrous journeys you could go on with books. And I remember, some of you may know this tale if you've watched my TEDx Victoria talk. I remember when I was 7 years old, one day sitting at the kitchen table, and the light was shining down on me, and I had paper and felt pens and staplers and glue and all kinds of stuff. And I was hard at work making my own little book. Because I dreamed, I envisioned that I could do it. I could make a little book. And so I did. This is a book that I made when I was 7 years old. And on the front cover I wrote, "Life by Tiffany." And inside were my thoughts and reflections about what life was all about. Now, looking at this very humble little story, it's not as official as a book, but you can see the similarities. I mean, I was inspired by what I saw out in the world, and I thought, why not? Why can't I make a book? And this first little example is very much like the seeds of future things that would happen. Because as I continued to grow up and pay attention to the books all around me and pay attention to this theme of life and big questions, that seed began to grow in my mind. And then when I was an adult, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to publish a book. And of course, I told people my idea, and they thought, oh yeah, well that's pretty hard to get published, and how would you even do that? What would you write about? Whenever you dream big, you're always going to encounter a few skeptics, even people who care about you, who are just trying to protect your feelings, and they don't want you to, go out and try something and then fail and then be miserable. But you and I, we're creative people, and we're dreamers, and we know that in the road to our achieving our dreams, we're going to have some stumbling blocks, but that never stops us. Because without big dreams, well, we can't make them come true, right? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a book about life, about questions. And I remember, scribbling out all my ideas on paper and making sketches. And then I thought, well, I'm not just going to write this book, I want to illustrate it too. I started doing some research and finding out, how would I get published? So I started getting books from the library, and ones like this, the writer's market, and you can see I've marked all these pages. I was doing research, not just about how to create this book, but about how I was going to get it out into the world, and finding out the state of publishing, and who could I approach with my manuscript. And all the while I was working alone in my office on this great idea, I heard those little whispers outside, like, oh, is she going to be able to do this? And oh, poor Tiffany, is she going to be able to publish her book? And I thought, I've got a dream. I've got a dream. And having a dream is kind of like, having a little bit of magic on your side. And I'll never forget that day when I got the call from the local bookstore that they had received the first shipment of my book. It had been picked up by a publisher, it had been printed, and it was now sitting on their bookshelves, and I could come in and check it out for the first time. I'd never seen it. I'd sent away my manuscript and illustrations and hoped for the best. And here it was. I got in my car, I drove down to the bookstore, and I remember putting my hand on the door to open up and just thinking, oh my goodness. It was almost like I was going to open that door and step into a dream that I had willed into existence. So I walked through that door into this dream, and I found a sales associate, and I said, I hear you have a new book called Q is for Question by Tiffany Poirier. Can you show me where that is? And my voice was trembling, and I was acting probably pretty weird according to the salesperson. And she said, oh yeah, it's a new book. It came in. Come this way, I'll show you. So I walked down this aisle following the salesperson, and at the end I saw on the shelf the book. And I took a picture in that moment so I could always look at it and remember, this is what it's like when you will your dreams into existence. And so here it is. Q is for Question is a book that I wrote and illustrated, and it came from this love for reading and questions that started in my early days. This is the seed that grew into this book. And I want to tell you, if I can do it, You certainly can do it. And you don't have to take as long as I did, because sometimes, you can accomplish great things when you're young. Look at the guy who wrote that book, Aragon. He was writing that when he was a young teenager and got it published. Now, what's your dream? And what seeds are you going to plant now to make that a reality? Don't let people tell you that it can't happen for you, because I promise you've got the magic. You've got the magic. Plant a seed now with your personal interest project. Maybe your personal interest project is just going to get you to this stage. Or maybe you decide right now, no, I'm going to publish that book as a part of my project. Or I'm going to create that website or blog or start that corporation or this, not-for-profit organization. Whatever it is that's your dream. Now's the time to envision the big things for yourself. So that's our introduction to step 3, envision. In the next video, I want to support you with a little guided envisioning exercise. And then after that, I'm so excited about this, because I thought, what better way to help you out than just give you tons and tons of examples of what your project could look like, how it could take form. So we've got over 100 project ideas in this video. And you're also going to see those listed and illustrated for you in your student workbook in a section called the Project Catalog. All right? And then, lastly, we're going to narrow down your project idea. And the challenge for this section is to dream of your big idea, get some clarity, and then focus in and be able to explain it in just one sentence. So there you go. I will see you in the next video, Guided Envisioning.